So, in the world of writing, there's this new kind of tool popping up that's got everyone talking, the AI Humanizer. The big question is, are these things a writer's secret weapon for getting perfect text, or are they just a shortcut with some pretty serious downsides? Let's get into it. You know that feeling, that little bit of panic if you're a student or content creator? What if the stuff I write gets flagged as AI, even if I did it myself? It's a real fear these days. And that's the exact problem that these AI humanizers claim they can solve.
So, before we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, we've got to ask a basic question. What exactly are these AI humanizer tools we're talking about?
Okay, so here's the deal. At its heart, an AI humanizer has a two-part job. First, it takes text that was generated by an AI and tries to rewrite it to sound less, robotic. But the second part, and this is the really critical one, is to change it just enough so it can sneak past those AI detection scanners that schools and even search engines are using now. All right, so let's look at the arguments for using these things. Because for a lot of people, this isn't about cheating, it's about trying to solve some very real, very modern writing problems. They see the promise of getting great results fast. So, what's the big pull? Why are people actually using them? Well, it really breaks down into a few key areas. You've got students who are terrified of getting a false positive on their own work. You've got writers who are just trying to make that clunky AI text sound a bit more natural. For marketers, it's a potential SEO boost because search engines might rank more human content higher. But honestly, for a lot of folks, it just comes down to one thing: raw efficiency. I mean, think about it. If you're churning out a ton of content that doesn't need to be some literary masterpiece, these tools feel like an incredibly fast, totally automated editor. It's all about speed and getting more done.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, right? It's not quite that simple. There's a pretty big catch to all of this.
Okay, so now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the argument. Because it seems like for every amazing promise these humanizers make, there's a hidden downside that kind of calls the whole thing into question. And the problems, well, they're both ethical and practical. Let's get the obvious one out of the way. In school, using this is just a high-tech way to cheat, period. But even if you're not in school, the output can just be bad. We're talking weird, awkward sentences. Sometimes the tool rewrites things so much that the original point is totally lost. And maybe the biggest issue, they're just not that reliable at actually beating the latest AI detectors. And this leads to this huge, kind of funny irony, right? The very tool that's supposed to save you all this time often spits out text that's so messed up you have to spend even more time fixing it by hand, which kind of defeats the whole purpose, doesn't it? All right, so theory is one thing. We've heard the pros, we've heard the cons, but what actually happens when you put one of these things to the test? Let's take a look at a real-world trial to see how it performs. And this quote, man, it just says it all. The person gave a humanizer a shot, probably hoping for a little polish on a sentence, and what they got back was actually a step down. The tool didn't make the idea better, it made it worse. But here's the real kicker, the part that's actually kind of shocking. The original sentence they were testing, it was already written by an AI. So this wasn't a case of a machine messing up a person's beautiful writing. This was one machine making another machine's writing worse. That tells you a whole lot about where this technology is right now. So after all that, where does this leave us? Are these humanizers a valuable tool in a writer's kit? Or are they just a crutch that actually makes our writing weaker in the long run? Let's try to land on a final verdict. When you put it all side by side, the picture gets really clear. On one hand, you've got the sales pitch. It avoids detection, sounds totally natural, and makes you super efficient. But then you have the reality. It doesn't always work, the phrasing can be super awkward, and you risk losing the whole point of what you were trying to say. That gap between the promise and the reality is, well, it's everything. So what's the bottom line here? It seems like the most level-headed way to look at it is this. Sure, these tools can be helpful for little things, like if you need to rephrase a sentence or you're just stuck. But they are not a magic button for good writing. Think of them as a minor assistant, not a ghostwriter. Relying on them for everything is a really, really risky bet. And that really leaves us with a huge question, something to chew on, as this tech just gets better and better. What do these tools become? Are we looking at the future of editing, something that will just be a normal part of the process? Or is this a step toward a world where authenticity is dead, where we can no longer tell the difference between a real human voice and a machine that's just good at faking it? What do you think?